"You can take my bread," said the human boy. What the alien leader did next shocked everyone. HFY, the war had burned the world for years. The sky was no longer blue. Smoke and fire turned it into a sheet of gray and red. Cities were no longer cities. They were ruins of glass and stone, broken walls covered with ash. Earth had become a battlefield, and every street was filled with fear. The alien armies had come without warning. They descended from the stars in black ships that blocked the sun. They had weapons stronger than anything humans could make. Fire that could melt tanks. Bombs that could crush whole buildings with a single strike. Wherever the aliens walked, silence followed because nothing survived. In one of these ruined cities, a group of humans hid inside an old refugee camp. The camp was nothing more than a cluster of torn tents and broken trucks. People were weak, hungry, and scared. Every sound of an engine made them think death was coming. Every shadow looked like a soldier. On this day, death finally came. The ground shook as massive alien machines rolled into the camp. Their armored legs crushed the ground with every step. Soldiers followed them, tall and terrible, their bodies covered in steel plates. Their faces were hidden behind masks that glowed with cruel red light. They carried rifles that hummed with deadly energy. At the center of the army was their leader, the alien chief. Taller than all the others, wearing armor black as night, his presence froze every human heart. His eyes, burning like fire, swept over the camp. Survivors held their breath, waiting for the order. They knew what would come next. Massacre. But then, something unexpected happened. From the crowd stepped a boy. No older than 12, thin as a stick, his clothes torn and dirty. He walked slowly, as if each step was heavier than the last. In his small hands he held a piece of bread, dry, hard, barely food at all. The boy stopped in front of the alien leader. Everyone gasped. The boy's voice was soft, but it carried through the silence. "You can take my bread," he said. The world seemed to pause. The humans stared in shock. The aliens did not move. Even the leader tilted his head, as if unsure he had heard correctly. Then far away, thunderous explosion shattered the moment. The ground quaked, and a ball of fire rose into the sky. Human resistance fighters had struck again, detonating hidden explosives under the alien war machines outside the camp. Flames consumed metal. Soldiers screamed as burning wreckage fell. Chaos erupted. Alien guns roared, firing blasts of energy that tore through the ruins. Humans screamed and scattered. More explosions shook the earth, each one closer than the last. Dust and fire filled the air, and yet the boy stood still. He did not run. He did not cry. His hands still held the bread out toward the alien leader. The leader looked down at him, something strange flickering in his burning eyes. He reached one clawed hand forward. The humans trembled. Was this the end? Would he crush the child? But the alien leader did not strike. His hand hovered above the bread, and then stopped. For a long, heavy moment, he simply stared. The boy's eyes met his. There was no hate in them, no fear, only quiet defiance. The alien leader's mind raced. He had fought humans for years. He had seen them scream, fight, and beg. He had seen their rage, their cruelty, their bloodlust. But never this. Never a child offering the last of his food to the enemy. Another explosion roared, closer this time. Fire swallowed part of the camp. Alien soldiers moved to finish the survivors, but the leader raised one hand, commanding them to stop. The army froze. Why? Why had he spared them? The humans stared in disbelief. Soldiers whispered among themselves. Something had broken inside the alien chief, something no one could understand. Then came the sound of jets. Human aircraft streaked across the smoky sky, dropping bombs that lit the horizon in waves of fire. The war was no longer distant, it was here. The camp became a battlefield. The alien soldiers turned their weapons upward, blasting ships from the air. Fire rained down. Explosions shook the camp to pieces. The humans screamed, running in every direction. Through it all, the alien leader still stood over the boy, A burning truck flipped through the air and crashed beside them. The impact sent flames roaring upward. The boy was thrown back, but before the fire could consume him, the alien leader moved. He bent down, wrapping his armored body around the child, shielding him from the blast. Gasps filled the air. The humans could not believe what they were seeing. The alien leader protector of their enemy was saving one of their own. Why? The alien soldiers saw it too. Some froze in shock. Others shouted in anger. This was betrayal. Their leader was protecting a human. Their voices grew louder, and soon they pointed their weapons not at the humans, but at their own chief. The battlefield was breaking apart. A sudden wave of explosions tore through the alien ranks. Hidden charges buried by human fighters detonated, ripping through tanks and machines. Alien screams filled the air. The humans used the chaos to strike back, ambushing from the ruins. Gunfire, bombs, and fire consumed the camp. The alien army faltered. The leader fought fiercely, but not against the humans, against his own soldiers. He cut down those who tried to harm the boy. His blade clashed with alien steel. He moved like a storm. A warrior unlike any other, the humans didn't know whether to fear him or thank him. The battle raged until nightfall. The camp was nothing but flames and rubble. The alien army was broken, but not destroyed. The humans were alive, but not safe. The alien leader, his armor scorched and his blade dripping with alien blood, stood alone in the ruins. The boy was still at his side, clutching the now crushed piece of bread. Above them, in the blackened sky, something even more terrible appeared. A massive alien warship, larger than a city, descended from the clouds. Its engines roared like thunder. Its shadow covered the earth. This was no ordinary ship. It was the command vessel. It's the one that carried the alien High Council. And on that ship was a weapon. A weapon powerful enough to end the war in one strike. A weapon that could burn all of Earth to ash. The humans looked up in horror. The alien soldiers, those who had survived, cheered. The alien leader clenched his claws. He knew what this meant. The council had lost patience. They would erase the planet. Nothing would remain. The boy tugged at his arm. His voice was small, but steady. "You don't have to let them," he said. The leader looked down at him. In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. For the first time in his long, brutal life, the alien leader hesitated. Would he obey his people and destroy this world? Or would he defy them and stand with the boy? The warship above began to charge its weapon, a glow building at its core. The ground rumbled. The air grew hotter. The end was coming. The boy whispered something else. Words so soft only the leader could hear. Words that shook him more than any weapon ever had. The alien leader turned his gaze back to the ship. His claws tightened around his blade. His soldiers waited for his command. The humans watched in terror, and then the story ended in fire and silence. As the weapon above reached full power, ready to fall upon the earth. Cities were burning, one after another. The alien ships came from the sky like falling stars, each one carrying death. They rained fire, bombs, and lightning on human streets. Towers crumbled. Highways split apart. The oceans boiled where their weapons struck. Every day, humanity lost more ground. Soldiers fought, but their bullets bounced off alien armor. Tanks melted before they could even fire. Planes fell from the sky like sparks from a dying fire. Only one city remained. It was broken, scarred, and surrounded by smoke, but it still stood. People called it the last city. And in its heart, among the ruins, survivors hid in shattered buildings, praying for one more day. On a gray morning, the ground began to shake. The alien army was coming. Their leader led them, tall as two men, his black armor scarred from 100 battles. His face was hidden behind a mask of metal and fire. Around him, soldiers marched in silence, their red eyes glowing through the smoke. Behind them rolled machines that could crush a whole street under their weight. The survivors knew there was no escape. Some whispered prayers. Others cried. Mothers held their children close. but one boy stepped forward. He was small, thin, his clothes torn and covered in dirt. His eyes were tired, but steady. In his hand he carried something simpler, a piece of bread. Dry and cracked, he walked past the crowd, past the broken walls, past the trembling people. Slowly, he approached the alien leader. The soldiers raised their rifles, humming with power, ready to fire. But the boy did not stop. When he stood before the alien chief, he lifted the bread with both hands. His voice was soft, but in the silence of fear. It carried across the ruined square. "You can take my bread," he said. The aliens froze. The humans gasped. For a long moment, no one moved. The boy's hands shook, but his eyes stayed fixed on the giant before him. The alien leader tilted his head. He had seen humans scream, fight, and beg. He had seen hatred and anger, but never this. Never a child offering the last of his food to the enemy. Before he could react, the ground erupted. Boom. An explosion shook the city walls. Fire rose high into the air. A hidden mine planted by desperate human fighters had gone off. Alien soldiers screamed as burning metal crashed down around them. A tank exploded, its flames rolling across the square. The battle had begun. Human resistance fighters swarmed from the ruins, firing rifles and launching rockets. Alien soldiers fired back, their weapons cutting down humans with beams of light. The air turned into thunder and fire. The boy stumbled from the blast, but he still clutched the bread. The alien leader reached down, his huge hand moving fast. Everyone thought he would crush the child, but instead he caught him, pulling him away from the flames. His armored body shielded the boy from the firestorm. The humans stared in disbelief. Why was their enemy protecting a child? The alien soldiers saw it too. Some shouted in confusion. Others aimed their rifles not at the humans, but at their own leader. He had broken their code. The alien leader rose, holding the boy against his chest. His soldiers demanded orders, their voices cold and sharp. Would he command them to destroy the city? Would he kill the boy himself? But he gave no order. His eyes, burning behind the mask, stayed on the child's bread. Above the battlefield, the sky roared. Human jets appeared, diving through the smoke. They dropped bombs that shook the earth. Alien mechs toppled. Fires consumed the streets. The smell of smoke and blood filled the air. The alien leader raised his hand, commanding his army to hold fire, but many ignored him. The square turned into chaos as alien fought alien, confused by their leader's hesitation. The humans pushed harder. Explosions shattered the ruins. Alien screams echoed through the smoke. By nightfall, the city was nearly gone. Flames lit the dark sky. The survivors were scattered, the fighters broken. They were still alive. In the ruins, the alien leader stood alone with the boy. Around them lay wreckage, blood, and fire. The boy, coughing from the smoke, looked up at him. "Why did you save me?" he asked. The leader said nothing. His people would never understand. His council would call it weakness. But something inside him had changed. That small act, the bread, had shaken him more than any weapon. Far above, the clouds parted. A shadow darker than night spread across the city. A massive alien warship descended from the sky, its engines roaring like thunder. The ground shook beneath its weight. It was the command ship, the vessel of the alien High Council, and it carried a weapon unlike any other. The humans screamed in terror. They knew what this meant. The weapon could wipe the city and all of Earth from existence. The alien soldiers dropped to their knees, chanting in their harsh tongue. They were ready for extermination. The boy clutched the leader's armor. "You don't have to let them," he whispered. His voice was faint, but steady. The leader looked down at him. He had fought for years. He had killed without thought. He had destroyed cities. But now, for the first time, he questioned his orders. The warship's core began to glow, its weapon charging. The air burned with its power. The countdown had begun. The alien soldiers cheered. The humans wept. The leader's claws tightened around his blade. He could obey, and Earth would die. Or he could defy, and risk his own people's wrath. The boy's eyes met his, and he whispered one last thing, words too soft for anyone else to hear. Words that burned hotter than fire in the alien leader's chest. The warship's weapon reached full charge. The sky lit up like a second sun. The alien leader stepped forward, his decision made. But what he chose, no one would know, not yet. The story ended in fire. With the world holding its breath, waiting to see whether bread had truly broken the war, doomed it forever. Everywhere there was fire. The cities were broken teeth on the earth's jaw, half buried in ash. Skies were filled with smoke that never lifted. Bombs fell so often that silence itself became strange. The humans fought back, but each battle cost them dearly. The aliens were stronger, faster, and armed with weapons that could tear down whole buildings with a single shot. The humans were running out of places to hide. In one ruined marketplace, survivors had gathered. Families huddled under collapsed roofs. Children clung to their mothers. The air smelled of dust and fear. Then the sound came. The steady, heavy march of machines. The thrum of alien weapons charging. The marketplace shook as alien soldiers entered, their armor glowing with crimson lights. At their front strode the alien leader, a giant figure wrapped in dark metal, his mask shining with fire. The humans held their breath. They had seen what happened when the aliens found survivors. There was no mercy. But something happened that no one expected. From the crowd stepped a boy. He was small, thin, no more than 12. His face was pale with hunger, but his eyes did not look away from the giant. In his hands he carried something fragile, half a loaf of bread. Old and dry, he walked until he stood before the alien leader. "You can take my bread," the boy whispered. The words cut through the silence. The survivors gasped. The alien soldiers froze. Even the leader tilted his head, as though the sound of mercy was a language long forgotten. Before anyone could react, the earth exploded. Boom. A chain of bombs buried beneath the ground ignited all at once. Fire split the square in half. Alien tanks toppled into burning pits. Metal screamed. Human fighters poured out of the ruins, firing rifles, launching grenades. The marketplace became a battlefield in seconds. The boy stumbled from the blast, but he did not scream. He still clutched the bread. The alien leader moved fast. His clawed hand swept forward, not to strike, but to catch the child. He shielded him beneath his armored body as a wall of fire rolled over them. The humans stopped in shock. Their greatest enemy had just saved one of their own. The alien soldiers noticed too. Rage filled their voices as they shouted in their harsh tongue. They pointed weapons at the boy, at their leader, and then it began betrayal. Some soldiers refused to fire on their chief. Others raised their rifles at him. The alien army was splitting before the humans' eyes. The leader stood tall, still holding the boy. His blade flashed, and in an instant he struck down 2 of his own soldiers who dared to aim at the child. The ground was littered with their broken armor. The battlefield became chaos. Humans attacked aliens. Aliens attacked humans. Aliens attacked each other. The air was filled with smoke, fire, and screams. The boy, shielded in the leader's arms, felt the ground shake again. A second explosion tore through the streets, collapsing an entire row of buildings. Dust rained from the sky. Fighters screamed as they were buried alive. The leader fought like a storm, his blade cutting through both humans and aliens who got too close. He was no longer fighting for his people, nor for conquest. He was fighting for something else, something no one understood. By nightfall, the marketplace was destroyed. Flames licked the sky. Piles of ash and broken bodies covered the ground. The humans who survived hid in the shadows, afraid to approach the alien leader. Even though he had saved the boy, he was still their enemy. They did not trust him. The alien soldiers who remained loyal stared at him in silence. Some lowered their weapons. Others prepared to send a message to the High Council. Their chief had betrayed them. The leader ignored them all. He stood with the boy at his side, staring at the piece of bread still clutched in the child's hands. Above them, the night sky split apart. A new shadow fell across the burning ruins. A massive warship descended, its engines screaming like thunder. Its hull stretched for miles, blocking the stars. Lights flashed along its surface. The alien soldiers fell to their knees. This was the High Command. The humans trembled in terror. They knew what such a ship carried: weapons that could erase an entire city in seconds. The warship's core began to glow, light building inside its belly. A weapon was charging. Its heat spread across the ruins, making the air heavy. The boy looked up at the leader. His voice was faint, but steady. "You don't have to let them do this," he said. The leader's claws clenched. He had fought for his people all his life. He had killed without hesitation. But now, something inside him twisted. His soldiers waited for his command. Would he order the humans slaughtered, or would he defy his own kind? The boy tugged at his armor again. His eyes were calm, though the sky above was about to burn. "Please," he whispered. The leader turned his gaze back to the warship. Its weapon glowed brighter, ready to strike. Behind him, alien voices shouted, "Traitor, betrayer." Some soldiers raised their rifles, prepared to end him before the council could. The humans, weak and broken, prepared to die. The boy pressed the bread into the leader's clawed hand. "Take it," he said softly. The alien leader stared at the small, fragile piece of food. His mask hid his expression, but something inside him cracked. The warship roared. The countdown began. 10. The humans held their breath. 9. Alien. Soldiers prepared to fire at their own chief. 8. The boy held onto his hand, refusing to let go. 7. The weapon above grew brighter. A second sun forming in the sky. 6. The alien leader finally raised his blade. 5. But the weapon was not pointed at the humans. 4. The humans gasped. The alien soldiers shouted. 3. The leader's blade pointed up toward the warship. 2. The two council watched from above. Their judgment? Final one. And then the story ended in fire and silence. The weapon unleashing its power as the leader made his choice. What that choice was, no one could yet know.